Welcome to the Market Engage Thrive podcast, where we help you navigate the online marketing and entrepreneurial jungle. If you love marketing, automation, and all things productivity, you're going to like it here. And now, here is your host, Sam Piccarello.
Welcome to another episode of the Market Engage Thrive podcast with me, Sam Piccarello. Thank you for joining me for another great episode. I hope you find this information useful. Today, we're going to be talking about a topic that comes up a lot with a lot of new entrepreneurs or even business owners who've been online for a couple of years. And that topic is brain bloat or information overload. You've probably heard a saying like it's like drinking from a fire hose. Well, that's what it's like for new online business owners, whether they've been in business, as I said, brand new, or maybe they've been in business for a couple of years. Like they are inundated with how-tos, books, programs, social media advice, new ninjas, new gurus, new experts, new courses, new programs. The choice is unlimited. And add to that Google, because literally Google gives you access to more information than anybody could handle. The whole population can't handle in a lifetime. So that all of it really contributes to this sense of overwhelm that I hear about and talk about a lot with small business owners, especially the newer ones. And that really contributes to their lack of focus, to their indecision, and quite often to really stalling their progress, stalling their business because they're always looking at different things. And add into the whole array of choices. If you're doing a business online, then you have tools. You got to decide, choose what kind of tools you're going to use. You have platforms, social media, like live video, anyone, because that's been big and everybody's being encouraged to do that as well. And if you're trying to keep up with everything, then you're really going to be lost. You're going to be overwhelmed. You're going to be indecisive. If you thought you could not make a decision, you did not what your choices were, the more information you consume, the more indecisive you're going to become. So today's episode is going to be talking about this kind of phenomenon that happens and information overload, brain bloat, and how to deal with that. Because it's only natural that we go research. I myself, I'm a lifelong learner. I like to learn about new things and read different books, different blogs, and buy courses and so on, because learning, that's how you progress, is that you learn. You can't kind of depend on yourself, on you, to figure everything out. Sometimes you have to tap into different sources of information to learn what you need to learn. So with that in mind, we still have to be able to learn, but we have to be able to manage the amount of information that we expose ourselves to, and to have it available to us in a way that is going to be useful to us, instead of just kind of dumping it or just holding it all in your head. And as I said, it just takes, one click of a mouse. And I'm sure you've done that before. One click of a mouse, and then you're down this rabbit hole. You've taken paths to different websites, to different blogs, to different podcasts even, because this could be a distraction as well. And then before you know it, you're, what was supposed to be maybe a 10-minute research block, or maybe a 30-minute kind of jaunt, from blog post to blog post and so on. You've probably going to realize that you spent hours jumping from one thing to the other. And then really when it comes down to it, when you think about, what did I learn? Or did I get what I wanted to get out of this time that I spent reading or listening or watching? Then you're going to probably realize that it really was not the time and effort you spent doing it, or that you've amassed more information than you really needed to, and it's probably not relevant to you at this point in your business. Sometimes it can feel like, you're a kid in a candy store and there's so much, and I completely understand. Totally there. And as I said, I'm a lifelong learner. So I'm going to go into the little tips that I have. These are strategies that I had to develop for myself, because as I said, I am a very curious person. I love to learn. I'm always thinking there's got to be a better way of doing things. So I'm always looking for better ways of doing things. And that just makes me more of a researcher. I read and analyze. And if I pick up a little idea, then I will go and delve deeper into it and go read some more. So if I don't keep that in check, I could spend just my days just bouncing around the interwebs and reading different blogs and watching videos and so on. So I've come up with just some steps to keep things in check for me. I'm still able to find the information that I need. I'm still able to research the topics I need to research, but without wasting too much time. These strategies are especially relevant for you if you are somebody who you're aware that you are a very shiny object oriented type of person, that you like chasing new things, that you like discovering new ideas, new plans, new strategies, then this is for you. And I think the shiny object syndrome is really relevant to everybody, because I think most new entrepreneurs, especially the online business owners, because it's a completely new world, there is a lot that you need to learn, but you don't have to learn it all at once. And I think that's where a lot of the newbies make mistakes, that they feel like they have to learn everything now before they can do anything. And that's just not true. You just have to take your time and learn what you need to learn when you need it. So going through these strategies, one of the first things that I want to share with you is you have to be able to brain dump. We're talking about brain bloat, and I'm talking about brain dump. Brain dumping is basically you downloading all the information that you have in your head, not just hold it in there. And it really involves you creating a system, a way for you to log your ideas so that they're there and they don't go away anywhere. And so that way they're not taking up all the RAM, all the hard drive space in your mind, because your brain is for thinking. And I'd hate for you to just use it just like a hard drive. You're just kind of piling up stuff in there just for whenever, and most likely you're going to forget about them, because that's not how the mind works, and you're probably going to be not as focused and not as productive as you would like to, just because you have your mind filled with all of these other kind of open loops, is what I call them. It's just pieces of information that just don't fit in anywhere, but you thought maybe you should go read them or learn them so you can use them in the future. So brain dump often. I use Trello. I love Trello. I use notebooks. I have a whiteboard. I have places where I capture my ideas and my information, so that, because I know I'm going to go back to them later. Because before I used to say I'm going to remember something, and then I do remember it for a while, but then I forget, or the details are kind of gray. I'm not really sure on the details because it's been so long, and more information had entered my mind by then, and then the old ones kind of went away. So make a habit of brain dumping, and that could be just a notebook, that could be a Trello board. I use Trello for that, and then you just create a board and just put all of your ideas in there. And that's called the brain dump. It could be ideas, information, processes, people, whatever it is, just kind of swimming around your head, you put it in there. And number 2 is really being aware of what it is that you need to know right now. As I said before, is that a lot of, especially the newer business owners, especially the online kind, is they feel like they have to know everything because they're exposed to everything. If you go on social media, if you read blog posts, they're talking, information is out there. Everybody kind of knows what you need to have. And add to that the tools, the technology, it can just become a super overwhelming place for anybody who's fairly new to the space. So the second thing you need to do is to decide what you need. What do I need to know? What do I need to learn right now for my stage in business? And that will really prevent you from it will help you put the blinders on. So that way you're not looking at things that are not relevant to your business right this moment. They may be relevant for the future, just not this moment. So just kind of get into the habit of asking yourself why am I reading this? Why am I watching this? Why am I signing up for this webinar? Why am I signing up for this lead magnet, for example? Why am I getting emails from these people in my inbox? Do I really need this information right now? Or is this information that I will need later on, so I don't need to worry myself about it this moment in time? So create a list of things that you need to know. And then you're going to figure out a way for you to organize what you need to research. Because I think that's one of the biggest time sucks for online entrepreneurs is research time. And again, it's just that hunger to learn. You want to learn as much as you can so that you can kind of get yourself on track and really shorten the learning curve. So you think the more time I spend researching and reading, the more I'm learning, the shorter is the less time is going to take me to be successful, to launch my business and to make sales and so on. But that's not necessarily true, because if you're just reading or researching without implementing, you're not doing anything. All you're doing is just you're cramming your head full of information. So implementation, that's the practical experience, and that's how you know whether something works for you or not. Just because it's on a blog post somewhere or it was mentioned on a webinar, it does not mean that it will work for you perfectly well the first time you do it. Most likely you're going to have to do the thing, whatever it is that you're trying to learn, a few times to perfect it for your business and your specific process. So the way to combat that is to schedule research time. So you kind of brain dumped, and then you know what you need, and then you're going to set time aside to research it. So if it is something that you want to figure out how to do or a process you want to learn, then you say, okay, I'm going to give it 2 hours, and then I'm going to research it. And by the end of those 2 hours, I'm going to move on and not spend more time doing it. And that's going to save you time. As I said, it's kind of pointless to just research and not act on the information, because implementation is what will help you see results. But you could be, book smart or blog smart or webinar smart. You could have watched webinars from all the experts. And I know people who are that way. They've taken everybody's course. They've been to everybody's webinar. They have everybody's downloads. They like all the big people's pages, they're in all the groups, and then they're just weak when it comes to implementation because they're just stuck in that cycle of just researching, learning and never quite implementing. So once you make a list of the things that you need, information that you need or education that you need, that you're going to put time aside, block time off, like a couple hours or 3 hours, depending on the topic. And then you're going to research whatever topic that you've chosen that you're going to research for that day. And then once the time runs out, those 2 hours, then you can look at what you've accomplished. Is this enough information for me, or do I need more information? But either way, if you need more information, then you're going to just schedule it and go back to it later. But by no means allow yourself to just sit there and kind of get lost in the interwebs, because sometimes you could have days go by where you're just reading and all of it is very interesting. And if you're passionate about what you do, then you're going to be spending hours and hours and hours because it's fun, you're learning, it's exciting, and you just kind of like putting pieces of a puzzle together. That's what it kind of feels like, because you learn all this new stuff. It's exciting. But is it really useful to you right now? Well, if you're not using it, it's useless to you, because that information will always be there. It's on the internet. It's public information. Or if it's a course, you can buy it later and learn it. You don't need to learn it right this moment unless you're going to take it right now and go implement it. So schedule time for research. If you don't accomplish everything you need within that block of time, then schedule it and go back to it another day. So don't just kind of sit there and let the day go by as you research. And then the next point is to filter the information you're exposed to. And this is a very important one too. And especially for the new entrepreneurs, because in the online space, there are a lot of experts, a lot of gurus, a lot of ninjas, a lot of courses, a lot of programs, lots of everything. There's information that's been churned out every single day that is tailor-made just for the online business owner. And if you're not careful about who you listen to and where you tune into and when, you could be listening to people who may not have your best interest at heart, or they're, the people fluff their numbers, or all kinds of people. So the first thing is really, instead of listening to everybody, imagine it like you are making a cake, and then you have 15 chefs or 15 cooks, pastry chefs working on that cake at the same time. Most likely that cake's not going to turn out very well because everybody's doing their own thing. Or it's the same when it comes to the experts or the gurus that you want to listen to. So be selective, choose a couple of people that you're going to listen to, maybe 2, 3, or 4, but definitely not 15 or 20 or 30, because there are hundreds of them out there and they're all experts with air quotes. So you choose who you're going to listen to and then just tune into those people. So they'll be literally like even if you haven't bought a product from them, or if you have not really worked with them, then they could just be kind of your virtual mentor. So every time you have a question or you wonder about something, you can go to these 3 experts that you've purposely chosen to listen to. And if they don't have the information that you need, then you can go somewhere else, but also be very careful about where you go. So when you limit the pool of people you listen to, the emails that you get, the blog posts that you read, the webinars you go to, you're going to cut down the noise so much noise that you're going to be a lot more at peace. Your inbox will be quieter because you won't be getting as many emails from as many experts and ninjas. And then before you've chosen these people, you've made a conscious effort to actually research them and know a little bit more about them. So they're not like, overnight wonder who tells you they can help you make millions. And this also applies to podcasts. Some people think just because it's a podcast and I'm listening to it passively as I'm running around the house, or I'm jogging, or I'm walking my dogs, or whatever it is that you're doing, that it's not really that bad because I'm kind of multitasking. But at the same time, a podcast, you could tune into an hour long podcast and you're going to get like 90 tips for something that you can go do. And again, you may not purposely go and try to implement those, but if you're getting advice from too many sources, you are causing confusion and overwhelm for yourself. So just kind of be careful where you tune into, who you listen to, and kind of cut down on the noise. Like, you don't need to know so much. Like, I know people who, they have everything. They listen to podcasts all the time. They read all the blog posts. They're everywhere, but they don't retain all of their information. And probably if I talk to you for an hour during this episode, you're probably not going to retain, I can't give you a percentage. I wish I looked it up before I started talking, but there's no way you're going to be able to retain everything, or at least the bullet points that I'm sharing with you. It's just because that just doesn't work that way. You know, you might get the general gist of it, but not the step by step in the breakdown. So it's the same when you're listening to podcasts, to blog posts and everything. Just be careful who you listen to and how much you're listening. Spend more time implementing than you do learning, and then you just go learn when you need to, versus just kind of listening and reading and watching. And then you're going to end up just being a spectator, funding other people's dreams and other people's vacations, because the more information you take in on, it feeds the uncertainty. It feeds kind of the lack of confidence and trust. And quite often too, some people would use it as a crutch. You know, you kind of, you can't make decisions. So you go over to somebody else's blog post, you go to somebody else's Facebook, you go to somebody else's email or whatever, and just to kind of get a sense of what it is that you're supposed to do. So just be careful how you do that and where you tune into and who you listen to, and just kind of trim the fat and then keep it in a very small and select group, so that way you're not causing confusion, overwhelm for yourself. And then the next step is to create a system to combat the fear of missing out, because that's what it is. When you're just hoarding information, it's like you feel like you're going to miss out on something if you don't consume this information right now, as if it's going to go somewhere. And it's not going to go anywhere. It's going to be right there. It's probably going to be better by the time you need it. So how you combat the fear of missing out, and then the kind of the ADHD that a lot of people seem to develop once they become online business owners, and it's not their fault, it's just the way it is, it's just so much out there, is the way you beat it is by creating systems. And by that I mean, and I can share with you what I do use, and how you can implement it in your business and in your research process. As I said, I love collecting information. I'm an information collector, but I'm also an implementer. I don't just collect everything and not do anything with it. And sometimes I've had something for about 3 months until I've gone back to take a look at it, but I had it somewhere tucked away and it was in a system, so I could find it because I knew it was there. So the way I do that is I have Evernote. That's the best thing. Before it used to be, you have screenshots of things or like a bookmark. So I'd have bookmark folders that had hundreds of things in them. But once I started using Evernote and using the web clipper from Evernote, and then just cut down all of that stuff. Like my bookmarks are clear. I don't have screenshots of stuff everywhere. I don't have random PDFs everywhere. Everything's in Evernote. And within Evernote, you do have the tagging system and then a notebook system. So I have just a notebook within my Evernote. I'm on Mac, so I'm not sure how it looks on Windows. And I have a notebook that is Evernote based. It's called Research. That's all that's in there. And I have the web clipper extension that's installed on Chrome. And then anytime I'm reading, if I'm doing research, then I can just clip straight from the web. I can clip it as a PDF. I can clip a full web page. I can clip just the hyperlink. I can clip PDFs. Let's say if I got a PDF from somewhere and I just want to save it, instead of downloading it, I can just clip it and then it goes to my Evernote and it lives there. And then you have the tagging process. So as you're saving, you can give it a name. So for example, if you go to, I'll give you a PDF and it's about, let's say, list building. So you could just go clip it using the web clipper, and then you can add the tags, Sam Piccarello, and maybe add another tag that says list building, so that anytime you want to go back and look up a certain topic within Evernote, you just go to your tags, say you're going to look at list building, just click list building, and then all the stuff that you clipped or that you screenshot or whatever that had list building associated with it, you'll have it all right there. You can just scroll through and pick what you want to read or which piece of which document you're looking for, and it's all right there for you. So just a way for you to do that. I could suggest different ways of doing it, but this is the simplest way for you to keep your research, your ideas, and all your information in place. For example, if you're looking for inspiration for a sales page, for a landing page, for a website, you can use that too. You can just screenshot things, and then with 2 clicks, everything is moved over to your Evernote, and it's there for you to look at whenever you need it, or even to share it with someone else who may be, building your website. So that's how you do it. Create a system and maintain the system. So you have to purge once in a while, so you're not just collecting a whole bunch of stuff. And that is basically, we're not feeding the kind of, the fear of missing out. I understand that, it's human nature to be curious and want to know these things, but it just really encourages you not to spend too long, so that when you see a piece of information, now I can say, okay, that's interesting. Don't need it right now, but I hate to lose the source. So I will just clip it and send it over to my Evernote and tag it appropriately. And I can, every time for that topic comes back up again for me, I can just go there and take a look at it. So, that's a way for you to do that. So that's the system as far as clipping and research and so on. But if for decision making, I'm going to go back to the courses and the programs. And there are a lot of courses and programs targeting new business owners, especially in the online space for marketing and so on. And, sometimes fear of missing out really kicks in, and I've experienced it myself sometimes, especially if somebody that you've been maybe following for a while, watching them for a while, and then they come out with a course or a program or something that, piques your interest. It talks to you, tells you exactly what you need to hear, and then you're tempted to buy it. So how I suggest you deal with that is, and it's something that I call, on-time learning. And on-time learning is really you making a conscious decision to say, okay, what I need to know right now is this. This is what I need to learn. Yes, this course or this program sounds very, very attractive, but is it suitable for my stage in business? And also just be aware that I have seen it many a times that it's sometimes something will come into your inbox or a webinar you sit in, and it really sells you the idea that you just need that one thing. And then you're going to be, you're going to skip a few stages and be completely established as a business owner. And that's not necessarily true. So you have to be aware of that. And you have to be aware of the fact that, you are better off anyway growing gradually and organically than manufactured growth, because manufactured growth is really unsustainable, especially if you don't have the right foundation in place. You will fall flat on your face. So that's for programs. It's for courses. If you see a course that you're really interested in, and sometimes, we use scarcity. You have a time limit. You have a number of spots limit. You have bonus limits. All kinds of stuff that happens in the marketing world. So I have one secret I want to share with you is that it doesn't matter, because that same information will come back up again. It will come up again. So, it's scarcity, but it's really fake scarcity for digital products, because they will come up again. And 90% of the time you can pretty much guarantee that you can find exactly the same information elsewhere, because nothing is original, nothing is unique. So when you're tempted to go buy another thing that's going to suck up your time, that's going to waste a lot of your time, or you think it's going to help you, but you don't need it right now because you're focused on maybe building your foundation, maybe getting more visible, maybe building your email list, be honest with yourself, step outside the box and do an assessment and ask yourself the hard question: do I really need it right now? Or is it just you reacting to emotions or acting emotionally instead of logically? And if most likely the answer will be no, you don't need to buy it. If you don't need it right this moment, right this week, you don't need to buy it. So you can just let it go and think about on-time learning and really free up your mental space, your mental energy to focus on what you're working on right now versus buying another thing, watching half of it and then not finishing it. And then you've just wasted your time again. Because again, I work with a lot of people who have thousands upon thousands of dollars I've seen sitting in somebody's hard drive with, passwords and everything. So it's unfortunate, but it happens. So my advice to you is that just focus on-time learning, and always, and anytime you're tempted to buy something, just ask yourself, do I need it right now? Do I need it? Or am I just tapped into my emotions? I'm kind of, they talk to me the right way and I'm feeling like I'm just being persuaded instead of making a logical and conscious decision that that's what you need right now. That's how you kind of combat, the fear of missing out. Fear of missing out, piece of information comes across your desk, you clip it, put it in your Evernote. If it's courses or programs or whatever, just kind of make a conscious decision and really tap into your logic instead of your feelings or your emotional decisions. You want to be logic and kind of make sense and use your head, whether you actually need it right now. And 99% of the time, of the stuff that people buy, they don't need it right now. you just don't need it, especially if you're fairly new. You have to get your foundation in place to know what you need, because if you're just kind of getting started, maybe the first year, second year, you do know what you need, but it's most likely not that thing. Maybe it's other areas of your business that need help first before you get to that thing. So this applies to, as I said, to everything, to webinars, downloads, books, and podcasts and everything. If you are not disciplined with this, and if you're not careful about where you spend your time, you could end up like, I know somebody who has been talking about starting a business for 9 years, and they've been researching it for 9 years because they feel like they need that magic bullet, that, secret sauce, that's, crazy strategy. But just imagine what this person could have done in the 9 years they've been debating doing this thing and researching this thing. It's a shame, because it's a huge chunk of time that was wasted, that they could have been growing that business, even on the side. Even if they had a full-time job, they could have been growing it on the side. Again, we just recognize that, yes, it's new. It's like we are, kids just went to Disney, and you walk in, it's like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. This is beautiful. This is fun. Oh, look at that. It's this Mickey. Oh my gosh, it's Donald Duck. And it's fun and it's great, but it's business at the end of the day, and time is your most precious commodity. So you have to really protect that and be careful where you spend that time, who you're spending it on, who you're listening to, and what kind of advice you're getting. And more importantly, are you implementing? Because if you're not implementing any of it, it doesn't matter how much time you spend researching. It doesn't matter how much time you spend reading, because you're not doing anything with it. So you could be, again, like book smart, you know all the stuff, you can talk all the jargon, but then you're just poor when it comes to implementation. So to combat that, you just have to focus, know what you need to do, know what you need to do it, what kind of help you need to do it, and then go and seek that information out. Small little chunks of information that you need, that you can take, implement, and then go back and get more information, instead of overloading your brain, bloating the brain with information, and then you're just a non-functioning hobbyist who's just chasing around these people from page to page, from group to group. You're reading all the emails, you know all the names, maybe even going to all the events, but you're just not doing anything, because that's not going to get you anywhere. Clearly, all you're doing is, maybe you're just making other people richer, but you're not making yourself successful. You're not helping yourself. You're not growing your business. So that's really the whole idea of brain bloat. So it's just basically information overload. And then you have to be conscious about where you spend your time, who you spend it with, and make sure that you brain dump often, so you're not carrying all this information and all the ideas in your head. Because if you just rely on your memory, we all know, you forget things. Or sometimes some idea that you thought of, you're trying to remember, you can't think of it. Or sometimes they just come up at the wrong times and they're just dying to get them on paper. So if you're not one who's good at capturing your ideas, you should start doing that now. And better still, if it's an idea about something that you want to research, then document it. Write it down. Say, I need to research this and this. And that's how you decide what you need. You document it. And so I'm going to run through the tips real quick. So brain dump often. Create a document or a Trello board or Evernote document, and just brain dump all the ideas that you have in your head. Decide what you need. So you have to consciously know what is it that you need to know right now. If you're just getting started, for example, like Facebook ads, they're really popular. So if you're just getting started, everybody wants to learn Facebook ads. Well, maybe that's not what you need right now. You don't need to learn Facebook ads. You need to make sure that the copy is right on your website. You need to make sure you have an opt-in ready. Maybe you need to go set up your email newsletter software, your CRM. Maybe you don't have one yet. So be conscious of your decisions and really have purpose to everything that you do. So that way it's all, make sure that you're doing it to move yourself forward, and you're not using it maybe like a way actively procrastinate, kind of working on the wrong things, but they're not the right things to move you forward. So brain dump often, decide what you need, create a list of things that you want to research, and you need to block time for research. So you have to cap the time that you research anything, and filter the information that you're exposed to, basically by being selective of whom you're watching, who you listen to, how many of them you listen to. Make sure that circle is small and is qualified. So it's people that you've researched, that you feel like you can trust. And those are the people you should listen to, instead of listening to everybody. Because there are a lot of people who look like they're experts, but they're not. There are a lot of people who sound like experts, experts, but they're not. So we just have to be very, very careful, especially when you go into the coaching industry, in the business coaching industry, because there are a lot of coaches who should not be coaching people how to do business. So be careful about that, and be careful with who you spend your time with and who you spend your money with. Super important. And then you have to create a system to kind of combat the fear of missing out. And that involves a way for you to capture research information using Evernote and web clipping. And you also have to ask yourself the right questions to kind of curb that spontaneous emotional buy-in that a lot of new online business owners deal with, because again, they're hungry to learn. You want to learn everything. You want to know everything. And there are people ready to take your money because you want to learn and you can buy it from them. But sometimes the thing you're going to buy to learn is not the right thing for you at this time. So what I always say is ask yourself the question, can I use this information right now? Because sometimes, we're emotional about our buying decisions because the promise is there, the benefits are there, and we think that's what's going to move us to the next level. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. But if it's something that you can't use this moment in time, like this week, I need to use it, then it's not something you need to be buying. So you can just say no to it. It doesn't matter what kind of scarcity was used. It's scarcity. It might be fake scarcity, but the same thing will be available again. So it's not, it's not going to go off to Mars and never come back again. The same kind of information will be available again. If it's not from the same person, you can get it somewhere else, because literally nothing is unique anymore. And whatever it is that you want to learn, you can learn it on demand. So it's not down to just one person's launch. And if that launch closes, then you're left, on your own and you're never going to figure it out. So just keep that in mind and really just keep your emotions in check when you are making buying decisions, especially when it comes to education, online business education. Just be careful about how you do that. And I always encourage you to say no. Basically say no, because most likely you don't need it right now, especially if you are fairly new. And really keep track of your time and see what you're using your time doing. If you're not implementing the right things, then you're going just to slow down your growth exponentially, and you're going to be really stalling yourself and robbing yourself of momentum and really feeding the insecurity, because I think a lot of it, that's what triggers that hunger to learn everything, is you don't feel insecure about your decisions, which is fair enough because you're doing something completely new to you. And that's why it's better to just have a couple of trusted sources that you can go to get your answers, versus spending lots of time, lots of money listening to what everybody's saying in order for you to make that decision. So because you're new to the space, and it's fair enough, sometimes you can't trust your decisions, and that's perfectly okay. That comes with experience. So instead of just going everywhere and buying all kinds of stuff, just put time aside and then find your mentors, the people that you've consciously picked to listen to, the experts. Maybe you're paying them or you're not, doesn't matter, because you can get tons of information online for free. And then those are the places you check with before you have to make a decision that you're not really sure about which way to go about it. So that's how you combat brain bloat. That's how you kind of avoid information overload. Literally, you say no. That's the first thing. You say no to everything, and you curb your research. You don't need to know everything right now. All you need to know today is what you need to use today or for tomorrow. But you don't need to know what you're going to use for 3 months down the road, because that's just waste of time, because you don't know how your business is going to look in 3 months. So maybe what you think you need to learn right now is relevant to you in 3 months' time. So I do hope that makes sense. If you do have any questions, feel free to join the community, the Market Engage Thrive. Yeah, Market Engage Thrive with Sam Piccarello on Facebook. Ask me your questions there. But this topic was triggered by a conversation I had with a client today, and it was all about just all the information, everything's out there, and everybody's asking for PDFs and checklists for everything. And you don't need all of that. You don't need that much. You just need to pick a couple of little things just to get you going, instead of kind of all this useless information, which may be packaged very pretty, very attractive, and it sounds valuable and actionable. But how many chefs are you going to allow in the kitchen? How many cooks are going to make the stew? So too many is going to ruin it. So that's why you have to be very careful about what you do and then what kind of information you look for. That's all I have for now. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode. I hope you've enjoyed this. If you have, make sure that you stop by and give us a review. Write something in there and tell me whether you like it, whether you enjoyed it, or if you have any feedback. I would really, really appreciate it. And again, as I said earlier, if you have any questions or if you'd like to join the community, hop on over to Facebook, and it's Market Engage Thrive with Sam Piccarello, or sampiccarello.com/group, and you can hop on in the group and ask your questions. So again, thank you for joining me today, and I look forward to you joining me again next time. Take care. Bye.